Jeff, ladies and gentlemen, thanks. It's very, very good to be here. I am chair of the Arts Council, but over the last year I've also been chair of the Durham Commission. The Durham Commission, as many people in this room will know, but perhaps not everyone will know, is a joint venture established between the Arts Council of England and Durham University. And it's set out to look at the place of creativity in education, in schools in particular in this country. And it will publish a report, hopefully in mid-October. But as Jeff has just suggested, we're in the middle of, or we're at the beginning of a constitutional crisis, perhaps. And it's not quite clear what will happen. Certainly if there was to be an election, we would have to postpone publication of our report, not because I think it's going to be earth-shattering in the terms that bringing back Parliament or indeed a full election would be, but nevertheless it has to be postponed in those circumstances. Anyway, the Durham Commission, as I say, it's been a joint programme between Durham University and Arts Council England. It's brought together leading figures across business, science, education, the arts, including some practitioners, architects like David Adjaye, performers and choreographers like Akram Khan, but also the Children's Commissioner, the Children's Laureate. We've been looking at the way in which creativity plays or does not play a part in the education of young people in this country. And what we've been wanting to do is to think about the way in which creativity can address the present and the future needs of society. And we've wanted to make proposals about how our need to give creativity a greater priority in society can be reflected and then implemented within the education system. But the big question, therefore, is why? What is the significance of creativity? We know that employers now look for it in recruiting. Businesses say they need it to evolve and compete. Educators champion its importance in building the skills, and if you listen to the present Secretary of State in the DC, the Department of Culture, Media and Sport, something about the character of young people. But what is creativity in practice? How is it experienced, and what value does it bring to our lives? And this is what the Durham Commission has tried to address. There have been many previous reports on creativity, and there have obviously been references to them this morning, and there will be no doubt more later in the day. But they often start from an abstract consideration of the meaning of the word itself. Durham, we've tried to take a slightly different and perhaps a slightly more urgent approach, and without preempting the report, I just want to sketch out what we've been doing. So over the past year, we've been talking to leaders and practitioners from industry, science, education, politics, and the arts, and asked how they understand creativity, how it is actually experienced in the world, and what impact it has on our economy, on employment opportunities for young people, its impact on the communities in which we live, and also its impact on personal well-being. So it's the economy, it's about place in terms of community, but it's also about the individual. There is a widespread misconception that we have not exactly discovered, but certainly uncovered, that creativity is solely the province of the arts. If you talk to most people and you ask about creativity, they say, oh, that's what artists do, that's what writers do. If you push them a bit harder, they then say, oh yes, of course scientists are creative, aren't they, as well? But we've discovered really that it's valued in all disciplines. It may take a slightly different form in each discipline, but mathematicians, scientists, entrepreneurs, as well as artists, writers, and composers value creativity. When we invited people to talk about creativity, probably the loudest response we had about the place of creativity in wider society was a recognition that it is a driver of economic growth and innovation. And in particular, in the last 10 years in this country, we've been very conscious that the national economy has been boosted by the success of what are now called have been called for a decade or more, the creative industries. However, it's also clear that the success in the creative industries should not obscure the contribution that creativity makes to the wider economy through the application of creative thought across manufacturing, engineering, new technologies, the sciences, and the public services. At a personal level, young people also need enterprise and confidence if they are to thrive in a world in which they will change jobs more frequently than in previous generations. Self-employment and the gig economy are shaping the world of work, and they're changing very fast. The TUC found that nearly 1 in 10 working-age adults surveyed recently now work in gig economy platforms at least once a week, compared with 1 in 20 as recently as 2016. So in 3 years, you've seen a really rapid change in the need for young people to be able to work in the gig economy at least once a week. And when we talk about 1 in 10, that equates to 4.7 million adults. Jobs, as we've been discussing already today, jobs that can be automated are disappearing. And McKinsey estimates that half of today's work activities could feasibly be automated by 2055. And the repetitive processes will, of course, be the first to go. Even aspects of our professional disciplines, such as law, medicine, finance, and education, are becoming more efficiently conducted by machines. I mean, we saw that Andreas had that remarkable chart showing just on literacy levels, just how far computers are nudging up towards the most advanced literacy levels of the human mind. This is obviously a vast change. Where there are no jobs for life, young people will need to show adaptability and resilience. And they'll also need to be equipped to fill the roles that are less vulnerable to automation. Creative occupations, encompassing jobs such as software development, biochemical engineering, not solely jobs in the creative industries or not solely being florists, and other wonderful occupations that were pointed to by Jeff earlier. They're all going to become a much larger proportion of the workforce in the future. These skills were also identified in a very similar way in our conversations with civic leaders as being vital to personal resilience and the happiness of young people. The kind of skills that, for instance, when you talk to CEOs in business, talk about problem solving, adaptability, collaboration, leadership, creativity, and innovation. Those are the same skills that are valued by people working in civic society, where personal resilience and happiness are essential for people. At a time when the mental health of children and young people is of concern, there's ample evidence of the value and importance of creativity in supporting well-being. Young people can find strength, inspiration, consolation, and community in their shared experience of creativity. And the Commission has found across the country many moving examples of how creativity has fired young people's imagination, empathy, and the ability to effect positive change. We know that creativity goes under many names. It may be called intuition, inquiry, expression. For business, it may be described as innovation, invention, and entrepreneurships. The words most frequently associated with creativity in our surveys were imagination, freedom, expression, collaboration, and problem solving. The research also highlighted the importance of curiosity, perseverance, and resilience. So from its research, the Commission has produced some practical definitions of creative thinking and of creativity that will provide a foundation for its recommendations. I won't go into the recommendations now, but they do consider how creativity can be effectively taught within the education system. The Commission has found inspiring examples of teaching that develops creativity. and also lateral thinking across all subjects and in all areas of children's learning. In the arts, as much as in the sciences, it is founded on knowledge and understanding, as well as the development of facility and technique. And Carl, I think, was talking about the fundamental need, whenever you are dealing with creativity, to recognize that the most brilliant imagination and the most brilliant solutions are founded on deep knowledge. So there's no conflict between knowledge and creativity. Sometimes when one talks to people in, well, I'll simply say government, there is a sense somehow that if you bring in creativity, you're pushing out knowledge. This is something that it's a hangover in a way from a set of attitudes that was established in the 70s and the early 80s. But it's playing out now. And I think the Commission's work will, I hope, move the dial a little in that respect. The Commission doesn't suggest that everyone can be a creative genius, but we do conclude that everyone can be encouraged to think more creatively and build their capacity for creativity. Because, simply put, creativity is the capacity to bring into being something that was not there before. It exists in significant ways that drive change, major innovations in science, technology, or the arts. But it also exists in smaller ways, as when individuals and communities find new solutions to the challenges of their daily lives. Creativity can give people a sense of agency. We still have an education system that is based primarily around the acquisition of knowledge. I'm talking about the United Kingdom now, as we saw from that diagram, again, which showed the degree to which memorization has become the way in which teaching is conceived in too many schools in this country, in my view. And I would say probably the view of the Commission as well. The Commission thinks that there need be, as I've said, no conflict between knowledge and creativity, and indeed the opposite is often the case. But we're at a point of change when we have to think honestly about the purpose of education and whether it currently addresses our national and our human needs. Our knowledge-based and examination-driven system only goes part of the way towards equipping young people with the skills that will give them the confidence and the resilience to shape their own path through life. They'll need to use their imagination and their critical judgment in applying their knowledge to the real world. In short, they will need creativity. Thank you.